أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم صل وسلم على محمد. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you for joining today. We are continuing our discussion on the messengership, and we're asking ourselves, what is the reason for us to believe that Muhammad, peace be upon him, must be a messenger of God? And we have been discussing different aspects. And we've been discussing different aspects of Muhammad, and now we're starting to discuss the Quran and how it's closely related to the Prophet and how it's also showing or revealing the sustainer to us. We are reading from the 14th droplet, the 19th word, and we're starting on the 3rd paragraph of this droplet. I guess what I can say really quickly is this paragraph will discuss a particular issue when it comes to the Quran, which is repetition. And apparently it's been something that a point of argument of basically questioning if this repetition is something that's to say that the Quran is a book of God, or is it, is this repetition actually adding to the argument that the Quran is not that worthy of a book? So we'll see what the author has to say, and if anybody has any questions about this concept of repetition or reflection, or if you even agree to the word repetition or not, please let us know. Right? So it says, consider the flashes of miraculousness in its repetitions, which are imagined to be a fault. Since the Quran is both a book of an invocation and a book of prayer and a book of summons, the repetition in it is desirable. Indeed, it is essential and most eloquent. It is not as the faulty imagine. For the mark of invocation is illumination through repetition. The mark of prayer is strengthening through repetition. The mark of command and summons is confirmation through repetition. Moreover, everyone is not capable of always reading the whole Quran, but is mostly able to read one surah. The following sentence is my favorite. It says, therefore, since the most important purposes of the Quran are included in most of the longer surahs, each is like a small Quran. That is to say, so that no one should be deprived certain of its aims like divine unity, the resurrection of the dead, the story of Moses have been repeated. Also, like bodily needs, spiritual needs are various. Man is in need of some of them every breath. Like the body needs air, the spirit needs the word huwa, or he. Since he is in need of every hour, like in the name of God, and so on. That means the repetition of verses arises from the repetition of need. It makes the repetition in order to point out the need and awaken and excite it, and to arouse desire and appetite. Okay, I guess what I can say is usually when I think of the word repetition, there's a lot of negative connotation to it. Why is something being repeated? It doesn't sound efficient when it's repeated. So I can easily be annoyed at this repetition. But I think the author here is trying to explain that this repetition is actually meaningful and it's corresponding to my spiritual needs and my capacity or my ability of understanding. If I can't read the whole Quran, or can't understand it all, or can't comprehend it, if I read one surah, then I still don't lose the opportunity to enjoy what the Quran is bringing. Yeah. So yeah, it's just corresponding to my needs and my ability. Anyone wants to add anything to that? Go ahead. Go ahead, Brother Ed.
Yes, thank you. As you said, according to my need, according to my capacity, the one who's speaking to me must have his literature, his rhetoric, and adjust it to my conditions, my capacity, my need. So it is not as faulty of the rhetoric of the Quran, but it is because Quran is not a book of information, not a book of knowledge about something of this world. The purpose of the speech of the Creator is to introduce himself to us and to remind human beings the purpose of their existence and the end result of their life, their being. So it is a book of instruction about the any subject that human beings cannot learn in this world. As a result, the first part of the paragraph we read today reminded us that Quran is a book of invocation and a book of prayer. And just as summoning, he said, the text said, it means inviting me to take notice of my, if you like, end result of my existence. and inviting me to connect myself to my Creator, to my eternal life, which are something that in this world I may keep forgetting. That is why invocation, prayer, is something to do with my relationship with my Creator, and keep this relationship with my Creator alive. So it will be the fulfillment of my purpose in this world. For example, if I am looking for a recipe, and the recipe says, you have to put this amount of water, this amount of material, this kind, that kind, explains it. But if it keeps repeating that you have to put 1 liter of water, and again, you have to put 1 liter of water, again, it becomes boring. I said, yes, I understood. I have to put 1 liter of water. And why do you keep repeating it as if I am stupid? But all of us, we understand that and also realize that I am busy with my interaction, in my interaction with the rest of my world. Who can say that I understood I am a created being, and I have to understand that everything that I am interacting is the creation of or creature of the creator of the universe, Rabbul Alameen. That's it. So once I learned this, in my whole life, I keep remembering it. I cannot say that. I cannot claim this. Why? Because of the problems of life, difficulties of life, and the things we like, things we don't like, always happen to us. I keep forgetting. While I'm drinking water, I say, I'm very thirsty, I have to drink water, and forget about that. This water and my need for water and the satisfaction at the end after I drink is the grace of Allah, the creator of the universe. So I need to remember it. While I am walking in the street, my feet are working perfectly. But I take it for granted that my feet work perfectly. I forgot that it is God's grace, God's favor for me. He enabled me to walk. And of course, Quran, God says, did you remember Ali? Ali, did you remember? The water, the satisfaction, your enjoyment are my grace to you. And also, while I'm working, Ali, did you remember? This ability to walk is my grace to you. I need to repeat, I need to be reminded repeatedly, because my interaction in the world is innumerably various. If I am not reminded, I will just get lost in my relationship with the world, and I would forget that it is God's grace to me. So it is a book of invocation. It is a book of prayer. It is a book of connection with my Creator and reminding me my position in this world. Since my interaction in this world with the other things are very different from each other, I need to be reminded at every occasion the purpose of my existence. So this is not a repetition because the need is repeated. So the reminder must be repeated as well. So every day we eat, we breathe, because the need is repeated. So the air, intaking of air, it needs to be also repeated because need is repeated. That is a significant part of the definition of the Quran, that in our discussions, we always point out this important matter. Quran is not a book of information. Quran is a book of instruction about something that I don't learn. I cannot learn within the conditions of this world. So it is about the creator of the universe, my relationship with the creator of the universe, who is not in this world. But his work is here, but I keep forgetting that it is his work. That is why the Quran must be treated not as a book of science, not as a book of instruction about how to make a table or how to really do your job, whatever your profession is in this world. But while you are doing your job, whatever the job you have, we need to be reminded all the actions that I am benefiting from are favors of my creator. That is quite important for me, that I need to be reminded. I keep forgetting. I'm not being modest here and saying that, no, I'm in a hypocrite way saying that I know my creator, I am a believer, but at the same time, while I'm speaking, I must speak a modest language. No, my reality is clearly this. I keep forgetting. That is why I need to be reminded always what I may always miss. That is why the Quran must be read as a book of reminder. Quran keeps saying that I am a dhikr. I am a dhikr. It means really reminder. Reminding me the purpose of my existence in this world, while I am interacting with multitude of living conditions. That is excellent. That was the first part of the paragraph. Before going into the second part of the paragraph, which is that longer surahs and smaller surahs, and the repetition in the Quran as far as the arrangement of the Quran Musaf is concerned. Let's talk about it after completing. If we are clear about the first part, we can continue next part. And also I would like to see our friends' points of view, inshallah.
Go ahead, Isra.
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakumullah khair, Dr. Ali and Sister Radwa. I just wanted to add about the story of Moses that's mentioned in the text. I was reading the Quran recently, like a sweep and like quickly, surah after surah. And so at some point I was like, again, story of Moses, because it came again and again. And but to think about our need, as Dr. Ali emphasizes, and it's not a book of information. And so when I thought Musa is me, Musa's story is me, and in a sense, Pharaoh is also me, it's in me. And the people of Musa, alayhi salam, are also me. They all are directly related to me in a way. And in this journey of life, I do go through repeatedly similar challenges of forgetting, being ungrateful, being stuck in asbab, the causes, natural causes, thinking that things are happening on its own, or internally, feeling that I am independent, I don't need God, or all those kind of spiritual challenges are really real, and they keep coming in different ways. And the story is not exactly the same. Text is repeated, it's the story of Moses, but in different aspects it's repeated. But I do need that. So when I thought that way, it didn't feel like it's too much. But if it is just simply about, if I think Musa alayhi salam is a person in history, and these are some of the facts about him, then keep repeating those facts. For instance, the fact that, sorry, I heard some noise here. So the fact that, for instance, he was taken special care as a child and protected from different kinds of dangers. And then the mom had the compassion that was also made available to him despite all those odds. When I think about those as Musa is a person and this is the facts of his life, then repeating it becomes like, okay, we got this. All right, Musa went through this very interesting situation. But then when I think about Musa as me, and as I am being taken care of through life, and I was nurtured in my mother's womb, and everyone has their unique journey, and but in this journey we do experience a lot of care. I mean, from our eyes to eyelashes, we have so much care that we are receiving from babyhood, and to remember this over and over again at a time we're constantly forgetting, and then because we forget, we feel deprived. We're willing to actually find other ways of trying to feel very special. So given that this is my human situation, my existential situation, to being fed this way over and over again, being nurtured in this way over and over again is actually being taken care of. It's not repetition in that boring sense or negative sense of the word. So I want to share this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very helpful. Thank you. Brother Ali, if you would like to add about the second part of the paragraph.
Actually, our friend Isra touched upon it. That is why the Quran's arrangement is such that there are some longer chapter sections, surahs, and shorter surahs, because just one word, even one letter, must be repeated in the same context, because the purpose of the Quran is to remind me. It's very simple. Actually, the content of the Quran is very simple. To draw my attention to the fact that this life is temporary, is a place of education, training, and we are expected to prepare ourselves for another creation, definitely and primarily. I have an owner. I am the creature, production of an absolute being, and he is favoring to me whatever I have in this world. None of the things that I have here are my own property. They are all his property. If you remember, when you read the whole Quran, everything is around this subject, but educating my feelings. I have innumerable, various kinds of feelings, and all these feelings need to be educated, trained, instructed in the same subject, not different. When I am happy, and happy with something, this is God's favor. Quran reminds me. When I am deprived of something, according to me, that I was expecting something, it didn't happen, and I feel sad, this is a reminder for you from your Creator. And when the baby is growing, this is a favor from your Creator. Again, the Creator, your connection with the Creator, your connection with your Lord. When I am aging and getting an old person, this is also a reminder for you from your Creator that you cannot sustain your life. It is given to you. And the owner is slowly reminding you that you cannot keep your life. You cannot guarantee your existence. So you have to accept that you have a Creator. Again, if you see that all my feelings need to be educated, trained in the same subject. I am transient. My existence is dependent. And my owner, the owner of my existence, is the absolute being. That's all. And we don't need, for example, I'm not expecting the Quran to teach me how to make the computer. I'm not expecting my Creator to teach me how to cultivate the land. I can learn it in my interaction. But what I am expected of my Creator to remind me the purpose of my struggle in this world. Happy moments, sad moments, unfavorable things happen to me. I have to interpret it, and the end result of these interpretations all boil down to the same point. You are created, you are dependent, and you have a conscious, absolute Creator. Don't forget this. And use your feelings accordingly. So simple. So simple. That is why, from one aspect, Quran, as far as the content of the Quran is concerned, it is so simple, basic, and these basic principles need to be repeated. But how about the details of training my feelings? They are so delicate feelings. They have no end. They need to be educated with no end. When it comes to the details, of course, we have to see this education, teaching in the details, not about the main points that are repeated in the Quran. The way the main points are repeated in the Quran has also very delicate differences in order to go into the detailed teaching, detailed education. That needs a special training, special learning process. But we are talking here about the same subject comes up again and again in the Quran. Now, that is the subject of the paragraph. Why the same topic keeps popping up every time? This is an unnecessary, is it an unnecessary repetition or it is an essential repetition? That's what we are reading. But when we go into the details, especially the way the grammar, the way the rhetoric of the language used in the Quran, we realize that there is no repetition. My certain senses, for example, sense of worry about my future, it must be educated in various content in various ways. That is, we cannot find any repetition in the Quran at this level. But we should not confuse the paragraph we read has not this purpose. It's a repetition in topics. Otherwise, there is no repetition, really unnecessary repetition in as far as the topics are concerned. Topics of the Quran are concerned, but if we go into the details, we will realize that there is no repetition at all in details. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we can move on to the next paragraph, unless someone wants to add anything. Okay. All right. Also, the Quran is a founder. It is the basis of the clear religion and the foundation of the world of Islam. It changed human social life and is the answer to the repeated questions of its various classes. Repetition is necessary for a founder in order to establish things. Repetition is necessary to corroborate them. Confirmation, verification, and repetition are necessary to emphasize them. I think the most sentence here that spoke loudly to me is repetition is necessary for a founder in order to establish things. It's just so true. It's so true in our practical life, basically in life. So for me, this is a good enough reason for repetition, plus all of the others that were mentioned earlier. Yeah. How about everyone else here? Anything interesting here? Anything new? Okay. All right. Also, it speaks of such mighty matters and minute truths that numerous repetitions are necessary in different forms in order to establish them in everyone's hearts. Nevertheless, they are apparently repetitions, but in reality, every verse has numerous meanings, numerous benefits, and many aspects and levels. I think this was touched upon when the example of the story of Moses was mentioned by Isra earlier. In each place, they are mentioned with a different meaning for different benefits and purposes. Right. I think my favorite part here is how it's mentioning that it needs to be established. The truths needs to be established in everyone's heart. I think it's extremely difficult to actually speak in a way to touch or to relate or to speak to everyone's heart, given their differences, given their states of awareness, given their capacity to understand. So I find this very, very unique to the Quran, and the repetitions here are very meaningful. Okay. Also, the Quran's being unspecific and concise in certain matters to do with cosmos is a flash of miraculousness for the purpose of guidance. It cannot be the target of criticism and is not a fault, like some atheists imagine. If you ask why does the all-wise Quran does not speak of beings in the same way as philosophy and science, it leaves some matters in brief form, and some it speaks of in a simple and superficial way. That is easy in the general view, does not wound general feelings, and does not weary or tax the minds of ordinary people. Why is this? Does anybody want to answer before we read the author's answer to this? Go ahead, Isra. And is it Isra or Isra? Please
Isra.
correct me.
Isra. Yeah, Isra. I'm in Istanbul right now, and I had many years ago I had met Dr. Ali and Dr. Yamina. I benefited a lot from them. I learned a lot from them. So I'm so happy to be able to circle back again. I just want to mention at this, I have a 14-year-old son, and I made him read some short passages from the Quran this Ramadan. And a lot of them was about nature, and he wanted to read them on his own. So I gave the passages about the moon and the sun and so on. And he said, frankly, Mom, it's nice, but it doesn't really give much information. and in his head, he was comparing it with science classes where you get more information about how far the moon is or the sun, and so he was like, to be honest, and I like this honesty, and it reminds me this question, so I just want to put it there, because the question is really saying, and why does the Quran is so kind of general? The moon and the sun, everything is turning. Okay, everything God made. Okay, So we had a very short conversation with my son on the purpose of science and purpose of the Quran. But I do find this question very timely, not for young people, but also myself.
Thank you very much. Thanks. I hope we will have some kind of answer for him. All right. By way of an answer, we say, philosophers have strayed from the path of truth. That's why. Also, of course, you have understood from past words and what they teach that the all-wise Quran speaks of the universe in order to make known the divine essence, attributes, and names. That is, it explains the meanings of the book of the universe to make known its creator. That means it looks at beings not for themselves, but for their creator. So this is, I guess, one thing. Number one is that it's pointing, everything in the Quran is pointing to its creator to reveal the divine essence, its attributes and names. And number two, also, it addresses everyone. But philosophy and science look at beings for themselves and address scientists in particular, in which case, since the all-wise Quran makes beings evidences and proofs, the evidence has to be superficial so that it will be quickly understood in the general view. And since the Quran of guidance addresses all classes of men, the ordinary people, which form the most numerous class, want guidance which is concise with unnecessary things being vague, and which brings subtle things close with comparisons, and which does not change things which in their superficial view are obvious into an unnecessary or even harmful form, lest it causes them to fall into error. So far, so good. Any questions or reflections here? The author is about to give us an example, but if you have anything to add here, please do. Go ahead, Brother Ali.
It was an interesting example that our friend Isra gave us about her son. So I love her son. So he's my friend. From this example, I understand. Quran keeps really saying that the concept of God introduced to human beings in the Quran is the creator, the owner, the sustainer of the universe. And gives example of heavens, the stars, moon, sun, earth, lots of, and also certain fruits which then we eat. Ready food, of course, fruits are very interesting. Ready, cooked, packed, everything is ready. So gives these examples, but doesn't go into details as the books of science go. Of course, the books of science do this because of their functioning, their purpose. It is not a mistake. What they are doing is good for the purpose of their existence, their being, as a book of science. But as the example, talking about the moon. Look at the moon, look at the moon, look at the moon. Over and over again. Look at the skies, look at the stars in the sky. Over and over again. But if I have not studied astronomy or anything to do with the sky sciences, yeah, I look at it, I said, these are wonderful things. You know, who is sustaining them over there? Who is arranging them? What a conscious and purposeful order taking place in the existence of the stars, and that's it. That is what I understand. I benefit from this reminder. But if a person goes into the deeper study of astronomy and whatever is happening in the sky, and for example, light beams we are receiving from the skies and galaxies and stars from there, the qualities of these light beams reveal the history of billions of years of their life. And again, the same verse says, look at the sky. After I have been instructed, learned through scientific researches, I become aware of the details of the things are happening. Of course, this reminder, look at the sky, look at the sky. I go into the deeper information I have obtained from studying the sciences of skies or astronomy. So still, I need to be reminded that these qualities I learned about the sky or galaxies or the light beams that we are learning, we are receiving from the sky, from galaxies, cannot happen by themselves. It is arranged. It is constructed in this way. And this is purposeful. And this is very wise. So the deeper information I learn from the very basic reminder of the Quran that look at the sky, very simple reminder, look at the sky, I remember the detailed, perfect arrangement, purposeful, wise arrangement of the detail that I learned in through the science of astronomy. Still, I am able, if I take notice of the reminder of the Quran, this is, for example, very important, detailed information about what is happening in the galaxies. I would say this is the wise arrangement of my Creator, and that is beneficial for me. How grateful, how gracious He is. So in this way, my understanding is different from a person who have not studied astronomy. But the purpose of the reminder of the Quran is fulfilled in the same way. And that is the purpose of the Quran, to remind me whatever I know of the galaxies is God's favor, Creator's favor for me, and fulfills different functions or fulfills the same function at different levels. And everybody needs to be reminded, whatever the situation, whatever the level they are. That is wonderful arrangement of the Quran. So we have to appreciate it and benefit from it, inshallah.
Thank you. For example, it says about the sun is a revolving lamp or lantern. For it does not speak of the sun for itself and its nature, but because it is a sort of mainspring of an order and center of a system. And order and system are mirrors of the maker's skill. I guess that's just reflecting what you were trying to say, Brother Ali. It says the sun runs its course. That is, the sun revolves. through calling to mind the orderly disposals of divine power in the revolutions of winter and summer and day and night with the phrase, "The sun revolves," it makes understood the Maker's tremendousness. Thus, whatever the reality of this revolving, it does not affect the order, which is woven and observed, and which is the purpose. Okay. So far, so good? Okay. It also says, "and set the sun as a lamp," through depicting through the word lamp the world in the form of a palace, and the things within it as decorations, necessities, and provisions, prepared for man and living beings, and inferring that the sun is also a subjugated candle holder. It makes known the mercy and bestowal of the Creator. So, in a way, the first verse, or the previously mentioned verse, is revealing divine power. It's pointing to the Maker's tremendousness. It's pointing to order. It's pointing to consistency. And then here, the second verse, it's pointing to how, to beauty, to mercy, all of which are qualities of the Creator. Now look and see what this foolish and prattling philosophy says. The sun is a vast burning liquid mass. It causes the planets which have been flung off from it to revolve around it. Its mass is such and such. It is this, it is that. It does not afford the spirit the satisfaction and fulfillment of true knowledge, just a terrible dread and fearful wonder. It does not speak of it as the Quran does. You may understand from this the value of the matters of philosophy, whose inside is hollow and outside ostentatious. So do not be deceived by its glittering exterior and be disrespectful towards the most miraculous expositions of the Quran. Anything here? Okay. Oh God, make the Quran. Sorry, go ahead, Isra.
Just wanted to add, like anecdotally, a sister who had become Muslim, and she mentioned that when she was very young, and when she learned about the sun at school, I think in elementary school or so, she was terrified that, what if it ends one day? What if that light, and that, because it's just the way it's introduced, it's as if it just flung off and somehow it's there and somehow we depend on it and it's so crucial for our lives. She was worried that, what if it stops? What if, it finishes? What are we going to do? I felt like, the kids are more sensitive to the implications of what we say and what we teach. And so, it really connects with here that if we say such things, even if you give me tons of technical information that goes with it, how far it is and, how much helium or whatever is being burnt in it, even if I give you all that, factual technical information, if I'm presenting it from that view of justice flung off there and somehow it's there and somehow we kind of ended up here, and that is actually a very kind of radically negative and false view, and the Quran is precisely countering that, and it is giving us the alternative true view of the way things are. And so we shouldn't miss the revolution and worry about where's the technical details. It doesn't give us. I think it's it's a very good excellent point here.
Thank you very much. Okay. The following is sort of a prayer. O God, make the Quran healing for us, the writer of this and his peers from all ills, and a companion to us and to them in our lives and after our deaths, and in this world, and in the grave, and at the last judgment an intercessor, and on the bridge a light, and from the fire a screen and shield, and in paradise a friend, and in all good deeds a guide and leader, through your grace and munificence, and beneficence and mercy, O most munificent of the munificent, and most merciful of the merciful. Ameen. O God, grant blessings and peace to the one to whom the all-wise Quran, the distinguisher between truth and falsehood, was revealed, and to all his family and companions. Ameen, Ameen. Lastly, there's a note. The 6 drops of the 14th droplet in the Arabic risale-i, and especially the 6 points of the 4th drop, explain 15 of the approximately 40 sorts of the all-wise Quran's miraculousness. Deeming those to be sufficient, we have limited the discussion here. If you wish, refer to them, and you will find a treasury of miracles. Anything that you feel you need to add here? Okay, I think that's the end of the 19th word. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله